Well, hello and welcome to all of our viewers around the world. I'm Fiona Lang-Sharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC here at Gold Learning. Welcome to everyone joining us here today. I'm very excited. Mandy, Irby, it's so good to have you back here today at Gold.
Hi, Fiona. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and you're going to be speaking at an upcoming symposium, Gold Learning Labor and Delivery Day Online Symposium 2023. You're going to be live speaking on such an important topic. I've actually been talking about this topic for a while, Mandy, so I hope you know I've been boosting it, talking to the crew here. We have such a great, foundation in participants here at Gold. We call them the Gold family, and they're really excited to come and listen. But I'm hoping today that we're going to pique some people's interest in this topic so that they can really learn a little bit more about it, but also start to think about what they're doing. So the topic that we're talking about is stirrups or restraints, 5 simple steps to overcome barriers to upright pushing. Now, that's quite a big topic. I don't know how you're going to manage this talking. I feel like we could do all week talking about this topic, but I know that you've got some important things you're going to be sharing, specifically some of the updates and the evidence and all the things that you love. So let's dive into the topic and then we'll get some updates from you in a minute. Tell me what you have seen and noticed in this specific topic that is happening or changing in the field right now.
I've been talking about stirrups as restraints for a few years now. And what has surprised me and maybe hasn't surprised me is that the conversation hasn't changed much. And I don't know if it's just my brain, but I just think like I read the literature and I read upcoming and updated, conversations about pushing techniques, pushing positions. More folks are getting more information inside of hospitals about it. It seems to be that there's a lot changing in the conversation around positions in labor, positions in birth, and learning more outside of the very limited education that we got as labor and delivery nurses. And that's where I'm speaking from. But it seems to still be really, really, really frustrating, and not much has changed in that second stage. So that's frustrating, and it's shared across, it's global. It's not just in the US, it's not just Canada. Everyone's talking about the challenges in, yes, we want to push for, pardon the pun, we want to push for position changes. We want to push for patients understanding the benefits of moving in labor, and they come in knowing a lot more about position options thanks to social media and what's online. But when it comes to pushing babies out, when it comes to laboring in the second stage, there's still so many hangups around what we've always been doing, and provider preference and stirrups and the supine position in the second stage.
Yeah, this is so interesting because we're sort of seeing, you're right, we're seeing the things shift in evidence. We're seeing the things talked about. There's a lot of conversation about it. We hear clients saying, I don't want to do this, or, I really want to do that. They're talking about it. And then what is the outcome? What actually happens when it gets down to, like you said, specifically second stage? And it seems like there is a gap. It seems like we're on board, and then something shifts. And so that's some of what you're going to be sharing with us, correct?
Yeah. And it's relatable because I think it's happening in a lot of places, which is kind of surprising that it's ongoing, but also not that surprising. Change takes a long time. This specific spot in labor and birth is really, really tricky because more people are in the room. It's not just the nurse and the doula and the patient and the family that are kind of navigating patient advocacy, autonomy, patient education, trauma responsive care, kind of shifting our standard of care into that framework where that can be very one-on-one, or the nurse and the patient kind of group, the family and the doula, whomever they bring. But there's a lot more folks that come in during the pushing stage and when the baby is born. So there's a lot more factors that have to be factored in. And so we want to discuss all of it because it can be really activating. I don't know about you. we talk about birth stories sometimes together when we are together, but memories and birth experiences come back of like, oh, that time when that, you know, we know of providers who want to do it a certain way. We know
Sure.
patients who are very vocal about what they want and how they want to push. And we have patients who aren't very vocal, and it can be really challenging. It can bring up a lot of personal barriers. For me, it can be really activating, and I feel kind of nervous when I think about those situations because they're intense.
Mm. I love that you talk about this, because I know that you're not just looking at the evidence. You're not just talking about the people who might be managing or controlling the situation, but you're talking about our own personal experiences and how they actually impact what happens next as well, which is really vital, because how I communicate next in a situation where I'm triggered, nervous, upset, seen it before, done it before, whatever it is directly going to impact the type of communication that's going to come out of my mouth, whether, or it might not even be, it could be body language too, right? Because we all speak with our bodies, facial expressions, that is going to impact directly that birth experience for everybody, including perhaps, another provider in the room, who is just attending, right? Because like you said, towards the end of the birth, you've got more people in the room, different people, depending on, where the birth is at that particular point. So
Yeah, if we think
interesting.
of that's a good way to put it, is it affects our communication. It affects our
Yeah,
nervous system. So it
totally.
affects
I
how
can feel
we,
it.
right? You feel it.
Yeah, I feel it.
We think about those experiences and those stories, no matter how many births we've been to, a few,
Yeah,
a lot, recent, long ago, they're forever stories for a lot of us,
totally.
even if you haven't given birth.
Yeah.
And we think of all the people that are in there. We think of all the kind of like backpacks they carry of all the
Mm-hmm.
stories. What if they've seen one like this? What if they're nervous about this other person? What if? And it truly ultimately affects the birthing person.
Yeah.
And we don't mean it, and we
No.
can't change it. I mean, we can change it, but in the moment we can't say, "Oh yeah, I have this thing about this room, or I have this thing about hands
Yeah.
and knees, or I have this
Yeah.
thing about this provider," but it's probably not going to affect anything.
Yeah.
But it does. And
Yeah.
it affects selfishly, it affects how folks take in this information when they're trying to learn to change their practice and do something differently. And I just want to bring an awareness of all of that history that we
Mm,
bring into the topic, because it affects how we can change our practice, even if we really, really
totally.
want to. We haven't been taught this in school, in orientation. We're not really taught specific ways to advocate for our patients. We're taught we are patient advocates and we should advocate.
Right.
But this is a really sticky situation. The second stage is kind of like when a lot of times in hospitals, it looks like we weren't expecting the baby to come out.
Yeah.
Like lights come on, everyone
Ooh.
comes in, they're
Yeah.
moving quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had
We've
people
done
say,
this before.
"You've done this before, right?" Like, is everybody new? No, we're not
Yeah.
new. This is just how it is.
Yeah.
So it can be an intense time, and we're not, that can be a really difficult time to help advocate when a lot of other stories
Yeah.
are in the room, nervous systems, and it's truly understandable because a lot of big emergencies can happen at that
Totally.
time.
Yeah. And we laugh, but I mean, it's just the reality that we're reflecting on our own, nuanced behavior, that are like, oh yeah, we did that again. And
Yeah.
we could have done it differently. We
Yeah.
need to. I think that's what I always get a sense from you, Mandy, is that, there is room to change, and we need to be paying attention. We need to look deeper. We need to look at ourselves first before we look at others. It's so important. We can point the finger as many times as we want, but if we're not looking at ourselves first, it's definitely gonna have an impact. So this is going to be great. I mean, I'm so looking forward to it, but I also want to know, like, some of the updates of what you've been doing. It's been a hot minute since you've been here, and I know things change quickly for you, but I'm excited because I'm hearing and seeing your name. And it's not just because I'm seeing it, it's because I feel like you're making waves. Sometimes big
That's
ones.
good. Good, good.
Oh, and I know
Yeah.
that's part of what you do in advocacy. These are good things, but tell me, how are things going for you? What have you got on the move right now? Where can people find you?
Oh, sure. Thank you. Things are going well. Making waves. I'm sure you hear the feedback more than I do about tough topics.
Sure.
I am the kind of like, yeah, I egg people on to the edge of their comfort because change is hard. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm incorporating a lot more neurology into my training and my speaking, where we can understand our nervous systems and how they have an effect on others and how they have an effect on how we show up.
Mm.
And that's really helped me show up and be able to be present for larger groups because, like you and I talk about all the time, we just are so excited when we see change in
Mm.
trauma informed birth care and the shift toward preventing birth related trauma for nurses and for patients, for everyone involved in the birth space. That's what I'm pushing forward is I do know that it can happen. It can happen in tandem. And we're kind of past the point of just focusing on one person in the room at a time where everyone truly is affected. So that's what I've been doing. I've been going to whole
Awesome.
teams and doing whole team trainings and conferences.
That's so fantastic. Tell me, where can people find you online? Because I know you are teaching. What's your website currently?
It's mandyirby.com. So it's my full name. And I'm also on LinkedIn more. Are you on LinkedIn?
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I see most of the conversation happening now. So, yeah, join us over on LinkedIn. I think it's a brilliant place for professionals, lots of conversation happening,
Yeah.
particularly in healthcare, which is brilliant. We're advocating for change, and that's what we want to see. So, yeah, come for the ride. I can't wait to see you on there, Mandy.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about this labor and
Yeah.
delivery symposium.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we will see you live. For most people, they'll be coming in listening on October 16th, which is fantastic. Please check the website. Go over to goldlearning.com right now. You'll see the live webinars there, including Mandy's. Mandy, this is a free and open access presentation. Anyone, anywhere in the world can come and listen to this presentation. So they have no excuse. So come,
We're ready.
everyone. Yeah,
That's
come on
right.
in.
We get to chat, right? There's a lot of
Yes, we
interaction
do.
that
You'll
gets
be
to
able to
happen.
come and interact with Mandy and myself. There's a live Q&A, live presentation, and of course, forums exclusively for the participants, which is going to be fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been absolutely fabulous sitting down and chatting with you.
You as well. Thanks, Fiona.
Yeah, and thank you so much for listening in and to this conversation once again. We will look forward to seeing you online. Put your comments in below. We want to hear from you. Talk about this really important subject. And then let's just keep those threads going. We want to take it back into practice as well. We'll look forward to seeing you very soon. Join us on goldlearning.com for all the information. Bye-bye for now, everyone.